Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In the name of Allah, the most graceful, the most merciful, we praise Allah, seek His help, we seek His forgiveness, we seek refuge in Allah from the evil of ourselves and from the evil of our actions. Whomsoever Allah guides, none can misguide. Whomsoever Allah leads astray, none can guide. And I bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that Muhammad, may Allah's peace, mercy, and blessings be upon him, is His slave and final messenger. Dear brothers and sisters, welcome to the third lecture of our course on the rules of fasting. Today, insha'Allah ta'ala, we'll be learning very important points about fasting, insha'Allah ta'ala, starting with the exceptions from the things which break siyam that we learned last year. The author Imam Ibn Annaqib, may Allah's mercy be upon him, said, وَإِن فَعَلَ جَمِيعَ ذَلِكَ نَاسِيًا أَوْ جَاهِلًا أو مكرها, referring to all the things which will break or violate one's siyam, including eating or drinking, or even ejaculation, or even vomiting. For these things, there are like three conditions for these things to invalidate one's fasting. So for one's fasting to be invalidated through these things, there must be three conditions has to be fulfilled. The first thing is that he should be doing this while he is conscious of what he is doing. He remembers that he is fasting. This means that if he doesn't remember that he is fasting while he does so, his fasting will be invalid. أو جاهلا, meaning that if he is ignorant, he didn't know that this act would invalidate his fast, probably because he is newly converted to Islam, or he lives in a city that is far from Muslim scholars or so. If he does so out of his ignorance, this also wouldn't invalidate his fast. أو مكرها, or if he does so not deliberately, he does it like either without his choice or by means of forcing or so. So in all these cases, his fast wouldn't be invalidated. أو غلبه القيء, if it happened that someone was overcome by nausea, he didn't vomit deliberately. It just happened that he just vomits not by his own choice. أو أنزل باحتلام أو عن فكر أو نظر. He says that if someone has like ejaculated due to a dream, or just by thinking of something that would arise his desire, or by seeing something, looking at something that would also cause him to ejaculate, he says that these things wouldn't invalidate one's fast, either ejaculating through the dream, or through thinking like of the beauty of a woman or so, or even through looking or watching. However, the last of these, the last two things of these, which are ejaculating through thinking or watching, they are actually like restrained to the conditions that it is not likely for that person that he would ejaculate through means of these things, by means of these things. But if he knows that he is likely to ejaculate only through these things, they would also invalidate his fast. Then he adds, amongst the things which don't invalidate one's fast, he says, أو نزل الماء جوفه بمضمضة أو استنشاق بلا مبالغة. He says that if someone is sniffing out water into his mouth or nose without any excessive use of water, without any abundance, he's just doing it moderately. But it happens that he just some of the water was just, he swallowed some of them unintentionally, of course. If this happens without any excessive use of water, this also wouldn't invalidate his or her fast. However, if it happens that someone was doing this madmada or istinshaq, sniffing out of water, with excessive use of water, this would invalidate her or his fast. And then the other thing which does not invalidate the fast, he says, أو جرى الريق بما بقي من الطعام في خلل أسنانه بعد تخليله وعجز عن مجه. Now, as you know, sometimes after you have a meal or so, some of the particles of food would remain between your teeth. So if it happens that in case you are unable to spit it out, if you're unable to spit that particles of food out of your mouth, and it happens that it goes amongst your saliva, that it happens that you swallow it, also as long as you are unable to spit it out, in this case, this also wouldn't invalidate your fast. أو جمع ريقه في فمه وابتلعه صرفا. That if it happens that you also swallow your saliva, this wouldn't invalidate your fast. It is something that is absolutely fine. أو أخرجه على لسانه ثم رده وبلعه. Also referring to the saliva, even if you get it out on your tongue, as long as it doesn't, as long as your saliva is not separated from your tongue, as long as it is on your tongue, still on your tongue, even if you get it out of your mouth and then swallow it back, this also wouldn't invalidate the fast. However, if you get it out on your lips, don't swallow it. Don't swallow it, because this would invalidate your fast. أو اقتلع نقامة من باطنه فلفظها. That also, we have learned that vomiting would break one's fast. However, if you get like a phlegm from the throat, even or although it is in the body cavity, if you get it out and spit it, this wouldn't invalidate one's fast, because it is not the same as vomiting. It is something different from vomiting, and it is something that will also be necessary, something that we need all the time. أو طلع الفجر وفي فمه طعام فنفضه. Also, if it's time for dawn, the start of fast, the starting time of fast, and someone was eating or drinking, it happens that it's time for dawn, time of fasting has just started, so he or she has just spit out the food that he had. This wouldn't invalidate one's fast. Some people might think that once it's time for dawn, once they hear the adhan, some people will think that they are still allowed to eat and drink, and this is actually not correct. This is not correct. And the hadith that is narrated concerning this has some interpretations by the scholars which don't mean that one is still permissible to eat or drink while they hear the adhan or while it's time for dawn. So once it's time for dawn, once it is the start time for fasting, one has to spit out the food or drink that they have in their mouth. Don't continue eating or drink. If they continue, this would invalidate their fast. أو كان مجامعا فنزع في الحال. Also, if it happened that someone was having sexual intercourse and then he hears the adhan, so immediately they have to disengage from this. They have to stop at once, and their fast will be valid, insha'Allah. أو نام جميع النهار. Also, sleeping all the day wouldn't invalidate one's fast. However, they wouldn't get that much reward. They would be deprived of much reward of fast. So although this is something that is disliked, however, it wouldn't invalidate one's fast. Although the one who does so would be sinful for missing the prayers, however, this does not invalidate one's fast to sleep all the day, all the time of fast. أو أغمي عليه فيه وأفاق لحظة منه. That if it happens that someone lost his consciousness during the day, however, he restores his consciousness even for a moment during the day, during the fasting time. As long as he restores his consciousness even for a moment during that day, his fast will be valid. But if it happens that he lost his consciousness throughout the whole day, from dawn till sunset, in this case, his fast will be invalid. So in all these cases, لم يضره في جميع ذلك ويصح صومه. In all these cases, the fast will be still valid. And then he says, وإذا أكل معتقدا أنه ليل فبان أنه نهار أو أكل ظانا الغروب واستمر الإشكال وجب القضاء. That if someone has been still having like his suhoor and he thinks that it is still time for night, still the fasting time has not started. However, soon after or whatever, any time after, he realized that it was time for dawn, that he ate or that he drank during the time of fasting. In this case, his fast will be invalid, and he or she have to make up that day. As long as they became certain, they were assured that they have ate or they have drunk during that time of fast. أو أكل ظانا الغروب واستمر الإشكال وجب القضاء. Or someone thinks that it is time for sunset, time for Maghrib, but he wasn't sure of this. And then after he eats or drinks, he realizes that, oh my God, this wasn't the time for breaking my fasting. This wasn't time for Maghrib yet. So in this case, his fast will be invalid and they will have to make up that day. This is only in case that they were assured, they were certain that they have eaten or that they have drunk during the day. However, وإن ظن أن الفجر لم يطلع فأكل واستمر الإشكال فلا قضاء. However, if someone thinks or believes that it is still not time for dawn, however, he is not sure, he is not 100% sure about this, so he keeps eating and drinking, and however, even he is still not sure about this, he cannot be even assured 100% that whether he has eaten or he has drunk during the day or the night. as long as he still didn't realize that he has already eaten or drunk after dawn, in this case, his fast is still valid. However, this is not the case if he eats or drank before he is assured that it is time for Maghrib, and then he still in doubt. This is a point. There is a slight difference between these two cases, because the general rule or the istishab rule, the original rule for in the case of suhoor, while he is still having food at night, this is the original case that he is still allowed, it's still permissible to eat or drink during that time. So even if he is in doubt, even if he is still not sure or certain that it is time for dawn, as long as he is not sure that it is time for dawn, he is still allowed to eat or drink. And even if he, after that, if he didn't realize or if he was not sure 100% that he ate or that he drank during the day, his fast will be valid. His fast will be invalid only if he was assured that he ate or that he drank during the day or after the dawn. However, the other case, if he eats or drinks before he is assured that it is time for Maghrib, that it is time for sunset, time to break one's fast, if he eats or drinks during that time, even if he wasn't sure after this, if he wasn't certain that he already have done so after Maghrib, in this case, his fast will be invalid, because we are commanded to keep our fasting until we are sure that it is time for the sunset. So these are two totally different cases. One is still allowed to eat or drink before dawn because this is the original case. However, if it happened that he was sure that this was time for dawn, he has to make up. But for the eating or drinking during the or before the not before the sunset, while he was in doubt that it is time for sunset, he or she have to make up that day. And then he speaks about the sunan, commendable things for fasting, as he says, وَيُنْدَبُ السَّحُورُ وَإِنْ قَلَّ وَلَوْ بِمَاءٍ, that it is commendable to have that pre-fasting meal, that meal that we can have it from the midnight until before dawn. It is commendable to have that meal, even by just drinking some water. You will still have the reward for having that suhoor. وَالْأَفْضَلُ تأخيره ما لم يخف الصبح. So as long as you are not afraid, you don't presume that the time of dawn will come, it is better to make it right before the dawn. And also one of the commendable things for fasting, تعجيل الفطر إذا تحقق الغروب. We said that for breaking one's fast after the sunset, everyone has to make sure that it is already time for sunset. Because if it happens that you break your fast before the sunset, or even if you are not sure, 100% sure that it's already time for sunset, your fast will be invalid. So yes, we are highly encouraged to break our fasts as early as you can. However, we gotta make sure that it is already time for sunset, that the whole disk of the sun has disappeared. Also amongst the commendable things for fast, he says, وَيُفْطِرُ عَلَى تَمَرَاتٍ وِتْرًا فَإِنْ لَمْ يَجِدْ فَالْمَاءُ. That it is commendable to break one's fast using dates. And actually the moist dates, the rutab, is better than the dry dates, the tamr. Using moist dates is better. If you don't have moist dates, you can use the dry dates. If you don't have it, then you can use water. And all these three things are commendable things. And it is also commendable to use an odd number of dates. وَيَقُولُ اللَّهُمَّ لَكَ صُمْتُ وَعَلَى رِزْقِكَ أَفْطَرْتُ. That it is also commendable to say that prayer, O Allah, I have fasted only for your sake, and I have broken my fast with your provision, or using your provision. Also amongst the things which are commendable to do during fasting, he says, وَيُنْدَبُ كَثْرَةُ الْجُودِ, that it is commendable to be generous on this month, to give charity as much as you can. وَصِلَةُ الرَّحِمِ, and also to visit your relatives, to be kind to them, to take care of them. وَكَثْرَةُ التِّلَاوَةِ وَالْإِقْرَاءِ, also to recite Quran, and also to teach people to recite Quran. It is one of the commendable things, and it will be more commendable during fasting the month of Ramadan. وَالْإِعْتِكَافُ سِيَّمَا الْعَشْرِ الْأَوَاخِرِ, that it is also commendable to do i'tikaf, which is to stay in the mosque, as we're going to learn insha'Allah in the next lecture, especially for the last 10 nights of the month of Ramadan. وَأَنْ يُفَطِّرَ الصُّوَامَ وَلَوْ بِمَاءٍ, it is also commendable to invite people for breaking their siyam, to provide them with the food that they will use for breaking their fast. Even if you just invite them for water, because you will get the same reward as if you had fasted, the same reward they will be getting, you will be also getting, insha'Allah ta'ala. As the Prophet ﷺ has told us in one of the authentic hadiths. وَتَقْدِيمُ غُسْلِ الْجَنَابَةِ عَلَى الْفَجْرِ. It is commendable, it is not mandatory. Some people might think that they must have, if they have major impurities, some people would think that they cannot fast unless they get cured, they have take bath or so. No, once you get for meal, if they have major impurity, they still can fast. However, it is better that they would take the shower before dawn. As for women, once their excuses ends up, they have to fast. They don't have to take the bath first. وَتَرْكُ الْغِيبَةِ وَالْكَذِبِ وَالْفُحْشِ فِي الْقَوْلِ وَالشَّهَوَاتِ. It is also commendable to avoid the backbiting or gossiping and even telling lies. We know that these things are actually not just disliked, but they are actually impermissible. You'll be sinful if you do this. However, you'll be more sinful for doing this during the month of Ramadan. It will be much more better to avoid these things during the month of Ramadan. This doesn't mean that it is not mandatory to do this. No, it is actually mandatory, but you will get more rewards for avoiding these sinful acts during your fast. وَالشَّهَوَاتِ. Also, it is commendable to avoid the things that would arise your desires, or that would enjoying good smells, good looking, these things that would make us attached more to this worldly life. We gotta avoid. It will be commendable to avoid during our fast. وَالْفَصْلِ وَالْحِجَامَةِ. It is also commendable to avoid using doing that kind of medicine that is called cupping, or even donating blood, those things, because they might cause someone to get weakened or even to break his fast. So it is much better to avoid these things during fast. However, they wouldn't break the fast. If someone does so, they wouldn't break their fast. However, it's much better to avoid them. And then he says, فَإِنْ شُوتِمَ فَلْيَقُلْ إِنِّي صَائِمٌ. Now, if someone insults you or curses you, you gotta say, I'm fasting. You gotta say it in your heart, and you gotta also say it out loud. You say it in your heart to remind yourself that you are fasting, that you are worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you are good and obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so you wouldn't exceed your limits, you wouldn't be sinful. And you also saying that out loud so that he hears you. It's a kind of rebuking them for doing that, as if you are saying, you are doing this to me while I'm fasting. So he might remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and fears him, and avoid doing that. And then he says, وَتَحْرُمُ الْقُبْلَةُ لِمَنْ حَرَّكَتْ شَهْوَتَهُ. That for the one who's, if it happens that he would kiss his wife or so, and this would make him likely to ejaculate, it would be haram for that person. It would be impermissible for such person to do so. Whether he is an old person or even a young man, it doesn't matter. The point is that if this would affect his fast, if this could be a cause of ejaculation, it would be impermissible for them to do such kissing or even touching or these things. وَالْوِصَالُ. It is also impermissible to fast 2 consecutive days without breaking one's fast. You gotta eat something, even just drinking some water at night, doing anything that would break your fast. It is impermissible to fast 2 consecutive days without breaking your fast at night. As he says, بِأَلَّا يَتَنَاوَلَ شَيْئًا فِي اللَّيْلِ فَلَوْ شَرِبَ مَاءً وَلَوْ جُرْعَةً عِنْدَ السَّحَرِ فَلَا يَحْرُمُ. That if you just drink water at night, breaking your fast just using water, or even having sexual intercourse, in this case it wouldn't be haram. وَيُكْرَهُ ذَوْقُ الطَّعَامِ. That it is disliked to taste food. However, this wouldn't invalidate your fast. As long as you don't swallow it, if you just taste it, this wouldn't invalidate your fast. However, if there is a necessity to do so, if there's a necessity that you need to taste food because you're unable to do it well, or you are cooking food for someone who might get so much nervous if you don't cook it well, in this case, it is not disliked to do so. وَعَلْكٌ. The gumming. This is in case if the gums that you are using wouldn't decompose it if you don't swallow any of its material subjects. وَسِوَاكٌ بَعْدَ الزَّوَادِ. That using the siwak, like brushing your teeth after noon, after it's time for dhuhr, it is disliked. However, the great Imam An-Nawawi has chosen the opinion that says it is not disliked. Actually, this is a point of disagreement among scholars, that some scholars would say it is disliked to use the siwak while you are fasting, and they would rely on the evidence evidence on the hadith that which Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said that the aroma or the fragrance of the mouth of someone who is fasting is better to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than the fragrance of musk. So this says that this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes, so we gotta keep it. However, Imam Nawawi says that this smell actually doesn't come from the mouth, but the source of that smell is actually from the stomach. So even if you brush your teeth, this wouldn't cause this smell to disappear. So it's still there, and although the accredited opinion, according to the Shafii madhab, not to use siwak or not to brush your teeth after noon. However, it is still a very strong opinion chosen by Imam Nawawi that it is not disliked at all to use siwak or to brush your teeth anytime you would like. لا كحل واستحمام, that it is not disliked. It is not disliked to use the ikon, which is a kind of makeup that is used for eyes. واستحمام, it is also not disliked to take bath or shower while you are fasting. ويكره لكل أحد صمت يوم إلى الليل. That is disliked to avoid or to abstain from speaking. It is not an act of worship that we use to just stay silent. Yeah, we gotta stay silent from evil talk, but it is not just a mere act of worship to stay silent. It is something that is disliked. We gotta make use of that time. We gotta say the adhkar, recite Quran, get busy with these acts of worship. And then he speaks about a very important point about making up the days that someone would miss during the month of Ramadan. He says, وَمَنْ لَزِمَهُ قَضَاءُ شَيْءٍ مِنْ رمضان ندب أن يقضيه متتابعا على الفور. Now he speaks about the one who was excused, the one who had an excuse not to fast a day, and then they are obliged to make up that day. That person is commendable to do it immediately after the month of Ramadan. This is for the person who had an excuse not to fast that day. However, for the person who broke his fast on a day without a good excuse, he just disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and have done so, that person has committed a major sin. That person is obliged to fast it right after the Eid. It is not commendable for them, but it is mandatory for them to make up that day right after the Eid, the day of Eid. That person he disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by breaking his fast during a day of Ramadan. But for the one who has a good excuse, has to do it, it's commendable for them to do it right after Ramadan, but it's not mandatory. However, it's mandatory for them to do them after the following Ramadan, as long as they are able to. As he says, وَلَا يَجُوزُ أَن يُؤَخِّرَ الْقَضَاءِ إِلَى رَمَضَانٍ آخَرَ بِغَيْرِ عُذْرٍ, that it is not permissible for them to delay or postpone the make-up days that you have to make up to after another Ramadan without an excuse. As long as you have an excuse, it is fine. But if you don't have the excuse, this is considered to be a sin. And there is an expiation for that sin, which is, he says, فَإِنْ أَخَّرَهُ لَزِمَهُ مَعَ الْقَضَاءِ عَنْ كُلِّ يَوْمٍ مُدٌّ مِنْ طَاعَةٍ. That in case you were able to make up a day before the following Ramadan and you didn't, you keep it for the before or until the other Ramadan comes. In this case, in addition to making up that day by fasting that day, you still obliged to give a charity of an amount of food, which is mud, which is about 550 grams of food. And then he says, فَإِنْ أَخَّرَ رَمَضَانَيْنِ فَمُدَّانِ وَهَكَذَا يَتَكَرَّرُ بِتَكَرُّرِ السِّنِينَ. That as long as you are able to make it up from the first Ramadan or before the following Ramadan, you gotta do it. If you delay that, in this case, you have to make fidya for that amount that we just mentioned, amount of mud. You gotta do a mud for every day, for every year. If you delay that for 2 years, you gotta donate or you gotta give charity 2 muds. If you do it 3 years, they gotta be 3 muds. If you do it 4 years, you gotta give in charity 4 muds. وَمَنْ مَاتَ وَعَلَيْهِ صَوْمٌ تَمَكَّنَ مِنْ فِعْلِهِ أُطْعِمَ عَنْهُ عن كل يوم مد طعام. The one who passes away while he had to fast some days, but he missed. He didn't fast. He had to make them up. And he had the chance to do it, but he didn't. He or she did not fast that days. This is actually in contrast to the person who had to fast some days or had to make them up, but he or she didn't have chance to do them until they passed away. Those person who didn't have chance to make them up, it is not mandatory for them to do anything. They are not obliged to do anything. Their family, since they have passed away, so no sin for them as long as they were unable to make them up. But if someone passes away before they make up the days that they missed, and they already had the chance to do this, in this case, their family have to make the expiation that we said. That is a mud for every day. That amount of food, that is about 550 grams of food for every day. However, what is better than this is that one of their family would fast these days. This is the opinion of Imam Shafii, the old opinion, or the first opinion of Imam Shafii, and this is actually the accredited opinion in the Shafii school. Although if Imam Shafii has two opinions in some issue, most of the time the second opinion, the later opinion, will be more accredited, or actually the correct and valid opinion. However, this is one of the very few cases that his old opinion is actually more accredited than the new one, that the family of that person can fast on his or her behalf. And then he speaks about the days which are commendable to fast. The days which are commendable to fast. He says, يُنْدَبُ صَوْمُ سِتَّةٍ مِنْ شَوَّالٍ, fasting the 6 days of the month of Shawwal. وَتُنْدَبُ مُتَتَابِعَةً تَلِي الْعِيدَ, that it is commendable to do them consecutively, that after one another. You do 6 days, 6 consecutive days. And it is also commendable to start fasting these days right after the Eid, after the day of Eid. فَإِنْ فَرَّقَهَا جَازَ. However, it is permissible and it is still valid if you do them not consecutively, if you do them respectively, do one, do the other, and so on. Also amongst the fasts which are commendable, fasting of Tasu'a wa Ashura, which are the 9th and 10th days of the month of Muharram, the first month of the Hijri calendar. وَأَيَّامِ الْبِيضِ فِي كُلِّ شَهْرٍ, which are the white days of each and every month. الثالث عشر وتالي, the 13th, 14th, and 15th days of every Hijri month. والاثنين والخميس, also it is commendable to fast every Monday and Thursday. وعشر ذي الحجة, it is also commendable to fast the first, not 10 days of the Hijjah, however they are just 9 days of the Hijjah, because the 10th day of the Hijjah is the day of Eid, and it is haram to fast that day. It is impermissible. So it is commendable to fast the first 9 days of the month of the Hijjah. For the one who is not a pilgrim, the one who is doing Hajj, pilgrimage, that person is commendable to fast only the first 8 days of that month. However, if they fast the 9th day, it is not impermissible. It is not haram, or it be sinful. However, it is not the best thing for him to do. وَالْأَشْهُرِ الْحُرُمِ, also the sacred month and the 4 sacred months, it is commendable to fast these months. وَهِيَ أَرْبَعَةٌ, they are 4, which are ذُو الْقَعْدَةِ وَذُو الْحِجَّةِ وَالْمُحَرَّمُ وَرَجَبُ. These are 4 months of the Hijri calendar which are commendable to fast. And then he speaks about what fast is better, what of the commendable fasts is better. He says, وَأَفْضَلُ الصَّوْمِ بَعْدَ رَمَضَانَ, that the best days to fast, or the best months to fast after the month of Ramadan, first Al-Muharram, or the month of Muharram, and then Rajab, and then the rest of the sacred months, meaning the Dhul Qa'dati and Dhul Hijj, ثُمَّ شَعْبًا, and then after the sacred months, then the month of Sha'ban. And then also amongst the fasts which are commendable, صوم يوم عرفة, fasting the day of Arafah. إلا للحاج بعرفة ففطره أفضل فإن صامه لم يكره لكنه ترك. That the 9th day of the Hijjah, it is commendable for everyone to fast unless he or she are pilgrims. They are doing Hajj and they are standing by Arafah. It is not commendable for them to do so. However, if they do so, it is not considered to be an offense. It is not considered to be like something that is disliked. However, it is not better. It is not the best thing they can do. وَيُكْرَهُ صَوْمُ الدَّهْرِ, that it is disliked for someone to fast the whole year. إِن ضَرَّ أَوْ فَوَّتَ حَقًّا, if this could harm them, or if this could lead them to like escape some other thing that they are supposed to do. وَإِلَّا لَمْ يُكْرَهُ, that if fasting the whole year wouldn't harm that person, would be okay with them. They are so strong, they wouldn't be affected, they wouldn't fall short to do some other things, this would be okay for. And then he speaks about the fasting that are haram, some days which are haram to fast, impermissible. As he says, وَيَحْرُمُ وَلَا يَصِحُّ أَصْلًا, that it would be impermissible and it wouldn't be valid at all to fast those days. First, صَوْمُ الْعِيدَيْنِ, the 2 Eids, fast the day of Eid al-Fitr, feast of breaking our fast, the one that is after the first day of the month of Shawwal, and the 10th day of the month of the Hijjah, the sacred, the month of the Hijjah, of the Hijri calendar. It is impermissible. And if someone fasts them, this wouldn't be accepted from them. وَأَيَّامِ التَّشْرِيقِ, and the 3 following days after the Eid of sacrifice, after Eid al-Adha, the day of 11, 12, and 13. وَيَوْمِ الشَّكِّ, also fasting that this is the month of Ramadan. And he explains what is the leaf doubt. Is it the 13th day of Sha'ban? Every 13th day of Sha'ban, is it called يوم الشك? He says, وهو أن يتحدث بالرؤية يوم 30 من شعبان من لا يثبت بقوله من عبيد وفسقة ونسوة وإلا فليس بيوم الشك. He now describes what is يوم الشك that is haram to fast. It is the 13th day of the month of Sha'ban, only in case people would speak that they have sighted the moon. People would speak that they have sighted the moon. But those who would say that are actually not qualified to be a witness. As we know, there are 2 types of witness, عدل الرواية وعدل الشهادة. Those who are qualified to be a witness has to be male and has to be known for being upright, righteous. So if some, like for a servant or a defiantly disobedient person or even women, if they have told that they have sighted the moon of the 13th day of Sha'ban, that they have sighted the moon of Ramadan, in this case, this would be called a day of uncertainty, that we are not sure, we don't know for sure that the 13th day of Sha'ban is actually a month, is the first day of Ramadan. We cannot be assured about this. So in this case, we are commanded to follow what the Prophet ﷺ has instructed us to do. He says, فَإِنْ غُمَّ عَلَيْكُمْ, if you were unable to sight the moon, then we gotta consider the month of Sha'ban to be 30 days. So it is haram, it is impermissible to fast that day. So it is impermissible to fast that day as a commendable day. However, and it is also impermissible to fast that day as a day of the month of Ramadan. However, it is permissible to fast that day عن نذر وقضاء. If you vowed to fast someday for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you can do it. You can fast that day of doubt. And you also, if you had a day to make up, it is also permissible to fast that day as a makeup for a day that you missed from previous Ramadan. وأما التطوع به فإن وافق عادة له أو وصله بما قبل نصف شعبان صح وإلا حرم ولم يصح. To fast that day of doubt as just commendable day, don't just because it's sunnah. Here we need to go into little more detail, that if it's a habit that someone would fast like Mondays, Thursdays, and it happened that that day was Monday or Thursday, it is permissible to fast that day. It will be valid to fast it. Or even if he started fasting, if he knew that Prophet Muhammad used to fast many days of the month of Sha'ban. So he started fasting before the 15th day of the month of Sha'ban. Because once it's the 15th day of the month of Sha'ban, if you are not used to fast, you are not allowed to initiate fast. So if someone is used to fast before, or if someone started fasting before the mid of the month of Sha'ban, it will be permissible to fast that day. But if you don't start before the mid of Sha'ban and you're just gonna fast that day, it is impermissible to do that. وَيَحْرُمُ صَوْمُ مَا بَعْدَ نُصْفِ شَعْبَانَ إِن لَمْ يُوَافِقْ عَادَتَهُ وَلَمْ يَصِلْهُ بِمَا قَبْلَ. We just said that it is impermissible once it's the middle of the month of Sha'ban, it is impermissible to start fasting. However, if someone is used to fast some days, like as we said, Mondays and Thursdays, and it happens that it is one of these days, then it is okay to fast. Otherwise, it is not permissible to fast. وَمَنْ دَخَلَ فِي صَوْمٍ وَصَلَاةٍ فَرْضًا حَرَمَ قَطْعُهُمَا. That if someone has started fasting or has started praying a prayer that is mandatory, like fasting the month of Ramadan or fasting a vow fast or a makeup fast, it is impermissible to cancel that fast. It is impermissible to break your fast unless you have an excuse. And the same for prayers also. Since that prayer is mandatory to do, then it is impermissible to break your prayers or to cancel your prayers. You gotta continue and complete your prayers. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تُبْطِلُوا أَعْمَالَكُمْ. Don't nullify, don't invalidate your acts or your good deeds. However, فَإِنْ كَانَ نَفْلًا جَازَ قَطْعُهُمَا. If they were commendable, if you are fasting commendable fast or you are praying commendable prayer, it is permissible to break your fast, to cancel your prayer. However, it is something that is disliked. And actually for the Hanafi madhab, they would consider this to be impermissible. They would consider breaking your commendable fast or canceling your commendable prayer, they would consider this to be impermissible. And they also rely on the evidence we just mentioned, which is وَلَا تُبْطِلُوا أَعْمَالَكُمْ. Now, insha'Allah ta'ala, we gotta stop here for today, بإذن ta'ala. And for the next class, we'll be speaking about the rules of i'tikaf, insha'Allah ta'ala. If you have any questions, please, you can just raise your hand, and I will allow you to speak, insha'Allah. You have any questions, dear brothers and sisters? All right, insha'Allah ta'ala, we're going to stop here for today, بإذن ta'ala. And subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la. Yes, sister, you have a question? Anyone want to speak?
Yes, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Is the book available? How to download it or buy it?
Yeah, I have already uploaded the book on the group. I will reshare it again, insha'Allah ta'ala, for you to download it بإذن ta'ala.
Jazakallah khair.
Allahumma ameen ya rabbi. Any other question? Yes.
For the academic number for the university?
This is only for the students of the university. Since you are not a student, you don't have to fill in that number. You are not required to fill in that number. It is something special for those who are students of the university. Those who are not students of the university, they don't have to fill in anything in that.
So it's not important to fill the...
Yes, exactly. You don't have to. Yeah. You can fill in the form, but don't fill in that number. You allow it to fill in the form, you will receive the certificate, but you don't have to write any numbers here.
Jazakallah, okay.
آمين يا رب. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.